Today we're going to be giving some tips and tricks and massive advice tips if you're considering playing Age of Empires Mobile, especially as a free-to-play player, because as you guys know, I have been undercover last week as a Young, and this was obviously a free-to-play player series where I had to obviously go, and I'm still playing it, to Season 2, try to unlock Lubu and showcase how to run a full free-to-play player account, alongside obviously my main account. And along the journey, obviously from day to day, you have to utilize certain tips and tricks and certain little secrets in the game to really mid-max your account, because if you didn't do this as a free-to-play player, I'm going to be real, you get punished. You get punished, and you need to understand all of that, and hopefully today's video should explain it. So smash like, comment, and subscribe. Let's dive into some really good tips and tricks that you can always be using on your account. And the first thing, as you can kind of see right now, it kind of popped up, is make sure, no matter what, as you'll notice in my queues on construction, logistics, training, forging, marches, apart from one, is doing something. Make sure everyone is doing something. And luckily at the moment, we've got some good old black banners, which I need for my King Derek on his free-to-play player account. So you want to make sure, no matter what, you're always doing something, because anyone will tell you when it comes to, obviously, Age of Empires Mobile, your biggest enemy is actually time. Time is the biggest enemy in this game. If you mismanage your time, you're going to get punished, and even your account is going to fall behind compared to anyone else who has a basic understanding of time management, right? So what we're going to do is kind of go through some good tips and tricks on how you can take advantage of time and what you should be doing with the time too, especially as a free-to-play in this early phase. So as I already said, make sure something is always happening. Nothing can be idle, because if it's idle, you're messing up, right? The next tip and trick is actually utilizing villagers. Honestly, you really don't utilize as many of these later on as you do right now as the beginning phase when you're building up your free-to-play player account or your main account when you are actually playing the game. The big one is task mobilization, and we're going to be just showcasing this off right now, because every time you trigger this, it's going to obviously go on cooldown. I think it's a 3-day cooldown, which you'll know, but it gives all your buildings 2 hours reduced time. So you can see this is 6 hours. This is 22 hours, and I'm going to be needing to complete these buildings in order to go towards Town Center 20 for my account. And a way we can obviously reduce that time is through alliance helps, which we are going to discuss in a moment, and obviously then through these villagers. By doing this, honestly, especially on big ticket buildings like your taverns, like your city hall walls here, right? Like your embassy, your university, your town center, these really big powerful buildings you need honestly to get through fast. Using that 2 hours is gonna be massive in the long run, because what you can do then in certain scenarios is, for example, let's just say right now it's bedtime. It's bedtime and I need to obviously go to sleep. Well, one issue with that is, as you'll notice, my building's going to finish in 4 hours. And in my opinion, that's a big no-no. Because when you're asleep, just think, the game for 8 hours, 6 hours, or however long you sleep, is doing its thing and you're getting rewarded for doing nothing, right? So if there's any time nothing's working during your sleep schedule, you kind of messed up. So what you want to do in those scenarios, after your building, like this university, for example, has its alliance helps, it has used those 2 extra hours from the villagers, for example, and you might have waited 6 to 7 hours through the day, because you might be at work, you might be at college, whatever you're doing, obviously. You might be busy throughout the day, and you've let that time kind of tick on this building. When it gets really low like this and you are about to go to sleep, there is no fear, I'm going to be honest, on just hitting the 4 hours. We can earn those 4 hours back, I promise you, with the new amount of content in the game as a new player in Age of Empires Mobile. I'm going to be transparent with you. So if you just hit this get it going. So we've got that university complete. We can now go back to our house. And look, that timer is actually kind of perfect. I'm not sad if I wake up a little bit early, because obviously it's going to be on 12 minutes or so, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I can speed that up. Or if I wake up a little bit later, I might have only had, 8 hours sleep. Hey, that's 10 minutes I'm not obviously losing out on, and it doesn't feel as bad as missing out on over 4 hours plus of time, right? So that's just like a really good, I would say, first thing to understand, right? And hopefully I've made that point pretty clear, which is time management. And that's just the buildings for your account. This is going to work the exact same when it comes to your research. So when it comes to research, you want to make sure it's doing the exact same thing. But what you can do, and which I did do as a free-to-play player, is actually come along here really early on and get that 3 out of 5 research speed. It might not sound like much, but 3%, and even this is really cheap to get to 5%, does go a long way. It saves those speed ups that you're going to be needing for your tech tree. And when it comes to your tech tree, what you want to do is make sure, as you can see with all of my tech, apart from one which I messed up on, you do want to make sure all of them is the minimal required. So you can keep this at 1 out of 5, and then during certain events, then you can then complete these events to get these higher up. But what you want to do is make sure the 3 out of 5 all the way across, because if the 3 out of 5, that is the progression that you need to keep moving on. And as you can see, you can keep pushing forward then to your later stages. So never overcommit. If you make this mistake, it is what it is. I did it by accident, by a misclick. You just have to live with it. But with your tech tree, you're doing the same thing. You're just making sure this thing is always cooking. And let's just say you're going to go to sleep and it's about to finish in 2 hours. Just pop the 2 hours and let it cook the next day, because you'd rather let 8 hours sleep over 6 hours wasted, right? So really big kind of emphasis on that. So hopefully you guys kind of get that point with the buildings, with the tech. So now I kind of want to talk about time management still, but more on the formations, because the thing is, in the early game with your formations, you can be setting these formations up in very special ways. Let's be honest, depending on how busy your alliance is. Let's just say they're doing a lot of rallies, for example. So if I just jump into this chat, we did have a rally somewhere up here, right? But imagine there was more rallies really often. Maybe it's a tribal event day, maybe it's Giants Raw event day, right? During that time, you do need to make a decision on how many marchers you're going to need to send to rally, because you can't afford to just have no one gathering. The biggest thing with your formations is, at the same time, you're going to start with 3, it's going to go to 4, then it'll go up to 5. And with this, you want to be able to obviously manage your marchers in a way that it doesn't technically impact you if you need to do something on the fly. So a really good way of showing this is how I've got my formation set up. If I expect it to be super, super busy right now, I'm going to have 2 marchers completely free, ready to go. And if they're not obviously ready to go, I'm going to be missing out on these rallies. So that's kind of an easy example, right? If I'm in a situation though, like now, where I'm a bit uncertain on when these next rallies are going to come, and I've got this kind of march here, it's not doing anything. Well, that's a big no-no, because we're wasting technically time, wasting resources that we could be getting, or even if we had the stamina, we could be killing tribes to obviously level up our heroes. So what we always want to do is make sure whenever we send out our gatherers, they're set out in a way that we can't take advantage of it. So a good way of doing it is like now. So as you can see, this march I'm going to send out, right? I'm going to send this out on purpose, even though I've just seen a rally go, right? And I'm going to make it farm this node, right? So it's going to go and farm this node. You might think, oh no, you're punished, you want to join that rally right now, it's for the King Derek, and I do want to join it. What you can actually do, and some people might frown upon this, but I actually find this the best way to manage your formations in the early game and not be punished. You want to go to the main march out of your main formations here, that's actually in the gathering center for your alliance, because this is not a node on the map. And I can tell you straight away from everyone in the game, if you leave an empty tile, I am fucking tilted. So don't leave empty tiles. Make sure you send the correct troops and complete the tile. And because of that, when you're in these situations where it's nice and quiet maybe for rallying, there is honestly no harm in just quickly going over here, waiting maybe for the timer to get to the last minute if you really want to mid-max, right? There's nothing wrong hitting the join, going to that march that's in your alliance center and sending it over, because it's gonna stop going from the alliance center, which isn't obviously gonna be massively impactful on the map. And what's even better on top of this is after you finish the tribal rally, or maybe you finish the black banner rally that I'm about to go in, well, all you gotta do is grab your march and drag it back in here, and it's that easy. It's that easy to keep resource gathering while obviously your march is going to where you need it to go, right? So that is a really good management of time, resources, and technically formations in one go. And I think for free-to-plays, for many players that are just really bad at managing on this game, would help them tremendously. Because right now, because of that, you got to think, I've got this march, I've got this march, and I've got this march now, marching away to go farm on these tiles. And we've got our march ready to go in any quick one rallies that might pop up. And then once they're done, I can go back to farm that gathering center. Just remember, this obviously does change. So for example, if there was 2 or 3 rallies cooking at the same time, I would actually just have, like I said earlier, 2 of these guys gathering. Obviously, the one in the gathering center still, who would be joining rallies and then going back to the gathering center in between. But I'd have that second march joining the second rallies. So at least I'm always in every rally until I hit maximum rewards. And as soon as I've hit those maximum rewards, well, boom, we are going to gather on those tiles. So hopefully that little section there has helped you tremendously just on time management, maybe management of your account, on resources, speed ups, on formations, trying to get into events while still mid-maxing on gathering resources if you're active right there, right then on your account. So let's continue the train, because I don't think it just ends there. So one thing I want to talk about mainly is how to take advantage, especially in the early game, of hero reset. Because if you're a new player on Age of Empires Mobile, hero reset is not an event you want to rush. This is an event you should take full advantage of at every given moment. And I'm going to explain how to do that, because the thing is, when this event comes around, you are very hastily ready to reset 3 heroes instantly and get obviously the XP back. So for example, like my Totoyomi here, I would want to kind of reset and get 1.3 million XP because he's a kind of terrible hero, right? The issue is when you do that, you miss out on 14, technically 13 days of time. And as a player, as a free-to-play player, and as anyone who plays this game, especially brand new to Age of Empires Mobile, what you should be doing is actually dedicating, when you first wake up at the beginning of the day, right, 3 marches. That's going to be your tribe marches. And this is going to consist of your main formation. So for me, at the moment, it's going to be Josephine, Hammurabi, and King Derek, just because I'm on my free-to-play player account, right? So people can kind of keep a reference. Obviously, you're a spender, you can change the marches on as a whim. My next march is going to be my Guan Yu march with Attila, because this is going to be my Lubu march, which is going to be my main formation, which I'm actually going to be building towards and saving all my resources for, right? So I want to level up both of these always on tribes. And what I want to do with my 4th march or my 3rd march, whatever it is put on 3 heroes, and maybe you can get rid of Queen Dido because she's usable. So you could put maybe 3 different heroes you don't care about in there and start killing tribes with them. Because the thing is, what people don't realize with hero reset is the fact that this is not just giving you XP or skill points or the skill scrolls that you have invested into that hero. It is also going to give you the XP that you have farmed through tribes. So if you do this at the beginning of the game, you can imagine your timer or your XP is only going to be around 400,000, 300,000, maybe 500,000 at a push. But for me, I've been able to farm some extra days, and I've still got 7 extra days of farming to go. This could be nearly 2 million, 3 million XP that I can reset on these heroes that have farmed them from the event, reset it at the correct time, and guess what? I've got them for my main heroes now, and especially for my future investments in the game. And this was honestly, as a free-to-play player, as a new player in Age of Empires Mobile, it's the biggest tip and trick I think anyone should give to anyone in the game. Because if you can take advantage of this, your main lineup is set. I'm telling you, you get such a nice advantage that you can snowball in events. It is huge, right? So hopefully you've enjoyed that segment of the video, right? I have gone through quite a lot in today's video so far, and it's not ending there. I do want to go over a couple more points, but just to kind of refresh, kind of summarize what we've gone over so far, it's basically about time management of your buildings and make sure everything is doing something in Age of Empires Mobile, because time is your biggest enemy. Then obviously the next tip and trick is to do with hero research. Don't be hasty. Use your patience that you've already developed from the early game, from time management, to actually get the XP farmed up on those heroes, reset them at the last possible moment, and get all of the benefits for doing so, right? So the next thing I do want to talk about when it comes to obviously your account, especially for free-to-play players, new players that you want to be taken advantage of, is your villagers. I know I've already mentioned villagers before, but there's certain times where these villagers become even more impactful. So one that we always use for me, especially during the Giants Raw event, and even during the event that's running right now. So if we go down here, the Lost Supply event, which is when you kill tribes, you're going to get these kind of chests, and you can actually get 5 Empire coins. I know it doesn't sound like much, but I'm telling you, it will add up over time. But what you can do during certain events, and even in the future for bigger players, especially during like Mighty's Empire, Golden Expedition, even in Desolate Desert, for example, you should be going into your limited time assignment no matter what and just spend the free. Just use 3 of your bloody villagers on this 50 stamina, because you got to remember, especially early game for us new players, you only have 100 stamina. So with that, that's 50 plus 50 there, that's 200 stamina. Think about it now for the new older players. You got 160, 150 stamina. Then you got 50 and another 50. So that's 260 stamina to do straight away. And it's not even long on the timers. This also does apply with kind of events like this. Weather, I didn't really take too much advice from this, apart from during this, certain production speeds does go up. I wouldn't worry about that for your account. The next thing, though, I do want to talk about, and the kind of last tip and trick mainly for free-to-play players, and I do want to showcase it because a lot of free-to-play players keep forgetting about doing it, is during military exercise. Military exercise is easy to complete. Honestly, it is easy to complete. I'm doing it right now. I've done it through another video that I recorded earlier on. And what you can do at every given time, especially if I reset the progress of the stage, you can see my main formations are here. And if you go to the hero reset choice, you always can pick, basically, especially if you're in a strong alliance, you can go and pick anyone in the lineups. And even in certain scenarios, when you go further on, as you can see, you can actually get multiple helps, right? You can get multiple assisted heroes. So make sure you take advantage of your assisted heroes, because if you don't, you're going to be falling behind. And always make sure you're using the strongest ones, obviously in the right setups, to get full advantage of them, because if you don't, you are really missing out on just some free rewards, which didn't take any second. And just to kind of finish it up on the video, talking about obviously military exercise and talking about rewards, the last kind of tip and trick advice, and I think any free-to-play player will say this and agree with me in the comment section: if you're a free-to-play player, you need to make sure when it comes to events, which is basically alliance events here, routine events down here, you need to complete them all. Every single one of them. If you don't do this, you're going to be at such a disadvantage to any free-to-play player that has put the work effort in, and you're going to be falling behind the bigger spenders and even smaller spenders that are playing Age of Empires Mobile. So to kind of finish it off, actually, I know I've said it twice, but to truly finish it off, which I did need to mention, it's the legendary advent wheel. Everyone should know this. I think everyone knows the rewards on the wheel are kind of trash. They are really trash. So if you're a free-to-play player, if you're a new player, do research on formations. Watch whoever you want to watch for guides. It's up to you, right? But watch content and learn formations, because you don't need to spin every single wheel, especially if you're not going down that formation path. I am not building Miyamoto, I'm not building Swordsman, I'm not building Tactical Cavalry, I'm not doing any of that jazz. I'm building Lubu. It's that easy, right? And because of that, you gotta think, every single time one of these legendary advent wheels does come along the way, you get free spins in the mails. And especially in the earlier seasons, season 1 and so, you can stack on these. Just stack on these free. It just keeps coming up. Bang, 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 bang. And you're just gonna keep getting this every rotation until it's the wheel you care about. So for me, as you can see, I'm going to get this Tribuano one, then it's going to come over to the Sun Tzu and El Cid one, and then it might rotate another time into the Octavia one. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the older seasons, but it will eventually come back to the Attila wheel. And when it does come back to the Attila wheel, I'm going to have at least 9, maybe 12 free spins, and then I can use the remaining of my Empire coins to make up the best investment for anyone, basically, which is 20, because it's the best cost-efficient way to actually get medals in this game, unfortunately, because of how hot garbo these rewards are. And maybe if there's a dev watching this and trying to learn some maybe tips and tricks on how to play their game, they can actually up the advent wheel rewards, because these advent wheel rewards, especially like this XP term, is just not good enough for spinning the amount of coins you are spinning to get these, right? So that is a bunch of free-to-play players' advice, tips and tricks that I've been using on my account, and hopefully the time management and the formation management stages of this video really kind of reaches out and helps you guys understand what you need to do, even in the late game on your main account, to really mid-max, to take advantage of everything to keep pushing that power, right? Because that's kind of what the whole point of the game is. So if you enjoyed the video, smash a like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next one, stay safe, stay sneaky, peace out.